Okay, example 1 here on 5-8 absolute value functions. And this one's kind of a long, got a bunch of different parts to it, which is just basically a review of all the stuff we've been working on in this unit so far. So that'll be good for us. So first thing I want to start with, because literally, like we said, our motto this year is work smarter, not harder, is plugging this into our calculator. So y equals, remember absolute value, I hit the math button, arrow over to number, choice 1, hit enter, or hit number 1 to choose choice 1. X, make sure you use the variable button. TI-83s, make sure you close your parentheses. 84s, make sure you arrow out, just in case in the future when there's more things going on than just plain old absolute value of X. And then go ahead. Alright, so I know that that makes sense because we learned previously that absolute value functions are going to look like a V. I'm going to go to the table. This first part is asking me to find f of negative 3. Well, in this situation, the negative 3 is the x part. So f of negative 3, they're asking what's the y value when x is 3, or sorry, negative 3. And according to my graph here, according to my table, when x is negative 3, y is positive 3. So f of negative 3 is equal to 3. And that makes sense because if I plug in x, negative 3 for x, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. Part B this time giving me y equals 4 and wanting to know what the x values are. So what can I plug in and get the absolute value of 4 back? What can I plug in and take the absolute value of and get 4 back? Well, negative 4, as you can see in my table right here, but not only negative 4, but also positive 4, because 4 and negative 4 are both 4 spaces from 0 on that number line. So this one is one of those answers, or one of those questions that has 2 answers. X would be equal to 4, and x would be equal to negative 4. Part C, asking me to graph the function. So this is pretty basic. It looks like we're starting at 0, 0, and then just kind of going up 1 and over 1 in each direction. So 1, negative 1, and 2, and all that. So starting at 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and I'm just going to continue that pattern. And again, I have that picture that I looked at earlier, and if I didn't want to lose the picture, I could just go back and forth and plot these points. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 3. Negative 4, 4. Negative 5, 5, 6, blah, 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 blah. Again, I can go back to the picture and just look to make sure that mine is going to match that, and it is. It looks pretty stinking nice if you ask me. Arrow, connect those dots, make sure you're using a ruler to make these as straight as possible. And there you have it, ladies and gents, amazing bends. There is our f of x. Part D, asking us to write the domain and the range. We'll do that and then we'll take a break and maybe we'll see. So again, domain is talking about my x values. So domain, so just like those parabolas that we looked at back in like 5-7, this is also going to not only go up forever, but it's also going outwards forever, getting wider and wider and wider, as you can see in the picture. So there's really not any x values that this graph won't ever eventually reach. So my domain is negative infinity all the way to positive infinity. Both of those being parentheses because they are not included, which is why I'm using just less thans and not or equal to's in the inequality notation. Oof, that wasn't a bunch of words. Range, talking about my y values. So now the y values here, there are no y values that are negative. There are no y values here in my graph. There's nothing here. So the lowest y value that my graph exists on is right here. That's that lowest, and that would be 0. And that is included because there was no mention or no open circles or anything like that. But it does not have a maximum y value. It keeps going all the way into infinity, so that gets a parenthesis. Inequality notation would be 0 is less than or equal to y, because we're talking about range, all the way to infinity, not included. And we'll look at E, F, and G next.